Hi, am I live? Yes, I am. Hi. My name is Kerrie Scroggins, and I'm from Texas. That's where I live. I'm originally an Australian. And I wanted to come in today and talk to you about a very serious, complicated, and misunderstood disease that I have been living with since 2006. It is called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, also known as CPRS or RSD. And the first question anybody asks me is, well, how did you get this? And the majority of the people who suffer with this disease have an injury, a pretty significant injury. But it doesn't have to be a significant injury. It can be a very minor thing that sets this locomotive in action. For me, I at the time lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was on my way to see the Diamondbacks play a baseball game. And at the time, Phoenix was putting in the new light rail system. And there was a big group of us walking to the stadium. And I did not see, I was talking to a couple friend of ours. My husband and I were walking along with them, and we were just chatting. And the next thing I knew, I was in this hole on the ground in terrible pain. And apparently I did not see this big pothole that I could fit into. At the time, I was a lot heavier. And I fell into this pit, and I realized that I had injured my ankle significantly. Managed to climb out of the pit, and we got to the stadium. And from the time that we got me out of this pit and to the stadium was maybe about a block and a half away. By the time we got there, my ankle looked like a basketball. It had literally exploded in swelling, and I was in agony. I was in pain. It was just horrible. So needless to say, we had to leave the baseball game and went to an emergency room, and they did x-rays, and at the time the x-rays didn't show any breakage. I hadn't actually broken a bone, but obviously I had done major soft tissue damage to the ankle. And so I was told that I needed to follow up with an orthopedist, which I did 2 days later. This was on a Friday night. I got in to see somebody on a Monday and did x-rays, and there was no broken bones. But the swelling was massive by this point. It was just massive. And so the doctor said, we really need to treat it with anti-inflammatories, stay off of it, stay on crutches, and then come back in a week or so we can kind of see where we are, and then we will schedule probably an MRI. So in that, I think it was actually 10 days from the time of that original appointment to the next appointment. And in that 10-day period of time, I started to see some very strange things happening in my left ankle. Not only was it super sensitive to touch. I mean, I could barely even touch it without feeling like I was just in this excruciating pain. I started to see all sorts of different colors. It was black, it was blue, it was green, it was orange, it was yellow. It was changing all these crazy kinds of colors. I started to get significant burning in the foot. And then it got really cold. I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. And I was just in absolute misery. So went back to see the doctor, and he was like, well, I'm really not sure what's going on. I have a sense of potentially what's going on, and it's not a good thing. It's called this reflex sympathetic dystrophy. I really need you to get in to see a specialist right away, or as quickly as you can. So that second appointment we set up with a specialist, and at this point we're about 2 weeks out. When I called for that appointment, I could not get in for another 2 weeks. So I was on crutches for a month. The foot was massively swollen. It wasn't, the swelling was going down a little, but not anywhere near it needed to be or where it should be. And by the time I got into see this specialist, which was just about a month later, this gentleman was very versed in this disease called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And he walked in the room and he took one look at my foot and he said, "Oh, this is really not good. You have full-blown reflex sympathetic dystrophy." And I'm like, what is that? How, make a long story short so I can explain it in the best terms. Reflex sympathetic dystrophy is a reaction that your central nervous system has called flight and fright, or fright and flight. Can never remember which is the right wording there. But it is when you have a scary situation and your body immediately gets into this fright or flight mode. If you're chased down by a bad guy, or if there's somebody tries to shoot you, or when you're in immediate peril, and that's how your body reacts in injuries like this. And your nervous system goes into hyperdrive. So your body is trying everything in its possible power to help fix the problem, but unfortunately, nothing is fixing the problem. And I had major injuries, soft tissue injuries. So this doctor immediately ordered an MRI to find out exactly what the situation was with the soft injuries. And that's exactly what we knew. Just about every single soft tissue in my foot had either torn or been ripped or was dislocated from the bone. I mean, it was just an absolute mess. My ankle pretty much exploded when I fell on it. And so we got all that information back. He's like, we really cannot operate on this foot until we try to get this under control. And that is get the central nervous system back under control, where operating didn't complicate and make the situation worse. Because every time you have an operation or another injury, this central nervous system has a tendency to have this spread to that new location. So for me, that actually happened not for several years later, but when I had my knee replacement done, my RSD from my left ankle actually traveled into my left knee. And now we're in 2024, and this was in 2017. So now we're in 2024, and now I have it in both of my knees below, in both legs, knee below. So it has spread, and there are stages to this disease. And so he said at the time, we really have to get this under control. We've got to try to get your central nervous system back in some, relatively calm situation, so we don't compound the problem and cause it to spread at the time. So that's what we did. And this was, by this point, this happened in April, on April 5th. I think by this point we were the end of June or July, and we had to wait until the week of Thanksgiving to do the surgery, because my foot was just, I don't even have words for it. It's something I've never experienced before or since. So we did the surgery, we got the repair done, which we had to get the repair done in order to get this completely under control. So that was in November. Now from April through November, I'm living on morphine because the pain is excruciating. So I can't drive. I can barely work. I'm getting up in the morning. I'm a zombie. I can't take care of me. I can't take care of my child at the time. My youngest child, who was still at home, he was in 8th grade, I believe. I couldn't do anything. I was a zombie. I was on morphine. And at the time in Arizona, when that happens, your license, you've got to report it. And so you cannot drive. And so I'm locked in my home. Luckily for me, at this point, I was actually working from home. One of the very beginning stages of my career where I was actually working from home, luckily, or else I would have lost my job. It was very, very difficult to even have this job because I was literally functioning on morphine. So fast forward from the repair took 2.5 months to get relatively back to normal. The swelling started to come down, but I was still having all of these strange symptoms: burning, unable to touch it, hot and cold, temperature changes, discoloration in it, hypersensitivity. I couldn't touch it. It felt like when when somebody takes your nails and you go down a chalkboard, that's what it felt like when I touched my skin. It absolutely made me come out of my skin. It was the strangest, most bizarre sensation. So the following March, we're now gone from the injury in April to surgery in November, and then in March, my doctor said, after trying just about every conceivable treatment, he just said, I really think that you are a candidate for an implanted pain pump to control this disease, because if we don't get it under control, it's going to spread to the rest of your body, and it could be catastrophic at that point. And this was in 2007. 17 years ago. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. And, I had a lot of life, had and still do have a lot of life left to live. And I certainly didn't want to live it on morphine. It's not a life. Living on oral pain medication is horrific. It is not a life. And I knew there was no way I could continue to do that. I got clinically depressed. I couldn't do anything, nothing. So I went through the approval process to have this implant put in, and we tried 2 different versions. The second one worked, and I started to get immediate results from the trial. And so that took place in April. And then 4 months later, in August, I was in the hospital having an implant put in my side, which is a permanent pump that goes inside your body. It's not on the outside, it's on the inside, and it is then connected to your spinal column. It's a major deal. And I have had that since August of 2007. And it is the only reason today that I am a functioning RSD survivor. This is a terrible disease that causes widespread devastation, not only to you as a person, to your family, to your finances, to your career. It is a major deal, and it is so incredibly misunderstood. If you don't get to a doctor that understands this disease, you're going to be going around and around and around and around one of those tops until you finally end up with somebody that understands and can treat you for reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Thank goodness it only took me 8 months. Some people, it takes years. And what happens to those people in between is they generally lose their job, they lose their family, they lose their finances, and they lose all hope. This disease has a very, very high self-harming incidence because you get clinically depressed. When you're clinically depressed and you add that on top of being financially depressed and then physically incapable of doing anything, you can understand how people get to that point of complete and total desperation where they're like, I don't want to live like this anymore. I know, I was there, and I was only 8 months. Some people are in this for years before they get completely and totally correctly diagnosed. So how do I live with this disease? Well, it's a challenge. I have an implant. I'm now on my 4th implant. The first one lasted 5 years. The second one lasted 5 years. The third one lasted almost 7 years. And so I'm now on my 4th implant. And it's given me back my life. But I have to have it filled every 3 months. It's in my side. It's not flattering. I have scar tissue around. It has stopped 2 times from malfunction, which put me into a major withdrawal because in the machine itself is Dilaudid, which is a very, very powerful opioid, and propivcaine. And when the unit stopped, my dog actually the first time heard it, and we realized that he could actually hear the frequency of my implant. So he then became a service dog for me, and he actually heard this default twice on 2 occasions. But it has given me back my life. but it has also been well over $1 million in medical expenses that have devoured us financially. We are 10 years behind where we should be to retire because of this major injury in my life that has devoured revenue. Um, I live with it because I don't have any other choice, and I'm proactively controlling it through an implant. I have insurance, so I'm very blessed. A lot of people don't have insurance, so they can't get to this point. It's a devastating disease, without a doubt. In the 15 years I had it before 2021, I put on over 100 pounds as a result of the opioids. The opioids caused my body to pack on the pounds, and so I was 100 pounds overweight. Since December of 21, I've lost 140 pounds because I had weight loss surgery. When I had the weight loss surgery, I was accepting the risk that the RSD could actually settle in the incision in my abdomen, which would have caused me more pain, but I was going to die from being overweight. So you have to, at some point in your life, when you are in this fight with this disease, there are times where you have to make a decision, which is the worst enemy to deal with? Which one is going to ultimately give me the longest ability to live the longest life? And for me, that decision was weight loss surgery. It eliminated all of my underlying problems with the exception of RSD. How I control it is I use supplements. And these supplements they're all plant-based supplements. There's no chemicals in them. They are vegan and they all come from plants. And I take a supplement that helps me with my breakthrough pain. So by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I start to develop pain in my legs. And so I luckily, without taking another oral opioid, which I refuse to do because I have enough on board already, I use a supplement that is a pain supplement that helps me get over the 2 to 3 hours where I'm in pain in my legs. I also use a sleep aid that from the same company. They're the largest mental wellness company in the world. We have products that win first place all the time. I'm now a distributor because I believe so much in these products because they have changed my life. Period. I don't have to take over-the-counter pain medication. I will never take it again. I have a supplement that helps me sleep. So I'm now sleeping 7 to 8 hours, where before I might have been sleeping 4 to 5, maybe 4 to 5. I am also helping myself by using a supplement that helps me control my stress levels. Before all of this, I was a very, kind of calm, even keeled kind of person. And then during this phase of the 14 years of my life, I was up and down and all over the place. You can imagine, right? Your life has been turned upside down, and the life that you had is no longer there. So my emotions were everywhere. I was under so much stress. There was financial stress, there was career stress, there was family stress, there was personal stress that I put on myself because I was 100 pounds overweight, right? It's just all this massive, perfect storm that happens with this disease. So I take a pain supplement. I take a sleep supplement. I use the protein powder from the same company to supplement my protein intake that you have to have as a weight loss surgery survivor. And I take a supplement. It helps me keep my emotions, my stress levels on an even keel. So when I react to things, the biggest reaction and the biggest stress in my life in the last 2 years has been the passing of my mother. We were so incredibly close. It destroyed me when I lost her. And if I had not been on these supplements, I know my reactions would have been completely different and probably devastating because we were so incredibly close, and her death was devastating, horribly devastating. So I continued to use that stress supplement because I own 3 companies. I'm very busy. I've got to catch up on the 10 years and over $1 million of lost revenue that I've spent on this disease. So at some point in my life, I can retire. I'm 61. My husband is 65. I don't want to be working until I'm 80. But I know I'm going to be working until I'm 70 because I have to, because there's been so much money lost to this disease that we are that far behind where we need to be to retire. That's a terrible stress, horrible stress. And I manage it because I have found this remarkable company that gives me these all natural products that help me deal with and live every day of my life with this rotten disease called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And I know I'm doing as well as I'm doing because of these products. So if you are suffering with this horrible disease and you are lost and don't know what to do, and you've got all of these outside influences that are consuming your life, let's talk about it. Let's communicate and connect, because for me, one of the greatest things that I found was a support mechanism, somebody that I could talk to that was experiencing the same things I was, and learned through these supplements how to take back control of my life. That's really what it amounts to. I can't ever not have an implant, and I know that there's no cure for this disease. It's rare that it goes in complete remission. So the best that I can do is to control it. And how I control it is by controlling all of the outside stimuli that have a tendency to cause what we call flares, where the RSD actually gets out of control and you get these massive cycles of pain that are just debilitating. And there's some days, even now, there are some days, they're not nearly as many now, but there are some days where I wake up and I just simply cannot physically get out of bed. I am just completely spent. But those aren't nearly as many as they were years ago. And I know the reason is because I am controlling all of these outside stimuli that affect how my body and my mind and my mental status reacts to my physical well-being. Because let me tell you, if your mental well-being and your physical well-being are not in sync, you are not going to feel well. One or the other is going to suffer, if not both. So the solution is to try to get those as in sync as possible, so the one complements the other. Because when you feel good, right, you physically are good. When you physically feel good, then you're mentally much better. It's just the way it works. It's a partnership. And when one side of the partnership is off kilter, the other side of the partnership also struggles. So getting that right balance mentally and physically is so important in managing this disease. Now, this disease is not well known. There's a lot of doctors that don't have a clue. So the first thing that I would tell anybody who has been diagnosed with this disease is, one, make sure it's the right diagnosis first and foremost, and make sure you go to a doctor that is truly versed in understanding and treating this disease. Because there's a lot of patients that I talk to that waste months and months and some years before they finally get the right diagnosis. And that can set you so far back in your ability to live your life and be productive and work and just live. Just live. So I would love the opportunity to talk to you about these remarkable products that I take that help me live and live successfully. I own 3 companies. I'm very busy. I'm a mom, a wife. I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren, 3 companies, service dog, and 15 fish in my koi pond, and a small aquarium in my office right over there. So I'm busy, but I can do it because I do have help. I couldn't do it if I didn't have help. And that's why I'm here today. So if you see this video, this live broadcast, and any of this resonates with you, I would love to help you. I would love to give you my knowledge to help you get where I am that I didn't have in the beginning and was just lost for so long. Thank goodness for me, I had a fantastic support system with my family, but there are people that don't. So if I can help you and provide you that support mechanism and get you in touch with these products that will help you, and there's a lot more. These are just the ones that I personally use. There are so many more. This is a world-class company. You will not be disappointed, and it will definitely make a huge difference in your life. Just to find out if any of these products can really help you. That's what this is all about, is helping you take back control of your life from this devastating, unforgiving, misunderstood, and bloody awful disease. And if I can help any of you feel better and live your life better, then I'm giving back. And that's very, very important to me. So my name is Kerrie Devlin Scroggins. You can go to my main landing page, which is my full name, www.kerriedevlinscroggins.com. And on that website, you will see a link to RSD. We can connect that way. I'm happy to send you materials. I'm happy to talk to you personally. Um, you know, especially if you're new to this or you're floundering and you just don't know what else to do, and you've reached the point where it just seems like nobody else around you understands, and you need a support mechanism and you want to take back your life, then please reach out to me. I'm all over the internet. I'm all over social media pages. I have every single platform I am on. Just type in my name and it'll take you straight to me. And I'd love the opportunity to help you turn your life back around, and so you can take control away from this devastating disease called RSD or CPRS. And I would really love to hear from you. And I hope some of this has been informative for you and will give you the inspiration and motivation to take back from it. You take control of it. Don't let it control you any longer. It is possible. It just means you may need a little bit of work and you may need a little bit of help. And there is nothing wrong with either one of those. So that's me. That's my story. That's how I live and control this terrible disease called RSD. And I really would love to hear from you. So let's connect. And that's it for me on this beautiful Friday in February from Houston. And I will talk to you soon. God bless everybody. And I really do look forward to hearing from you. Have a blessed TGIF.